I was impressed, okay? This is the big picture here that I want to bring up. I might have been wrong. Are you listening, LeBron James? Are you listening, James family?
Stephen A. Smith has never been the type to hold his tongue when it comes to NBA players, but this time he might have gone too far. In a rare slip-up, he basically admitted that he's scared of LeBron James.
I know that the man I am today is not the man that I was a decade ago, physically or beyond.
And now, LeBron's turning that moment of weakness into pure ammunition to drag him like never before. The feud that's erupting between these two heavyweights isn't just entertainment, it's war in the world of basketball. In the glittering chaos of pro basketball, where egos are as big as the contracts, few clashes have burned as bright as the showdown between ESPN's loudest voice, Stephen A. Smith, and the king himself, LeBron James. What started as typical sports banter spiraled into something personal, an emotional tug-of-war that cracked open the fragile balance between power, pride, and respect. But behind the cameras and flashy headlines, one question's got everyone whispering. Is Stephen A. actually scared of LeBron? The whispers didn't come from nowhere. The tension had been bubbling for months, ever since Smith started throwing shade at LeBron's eldest son, Bronny James, after his highly publicized draft to the Los Angeles Lakers. Each fiery take Stephen dropped just poured more gasoline on the fire, and everyone could see it coming. Then came that day, January 29th, 2025, the episode that changed everything. Millions of viewers tuned into First Take, expecting the usual heated debates, but what they got was a full-blown storm. Stephen A. went off with one of his passionate pleas, but this time, his words cut deep into something sacred: LeBron's role as a father. Every sentence felt like a jab. Every analysis sounded more personal than professional, and LeBron's fans weren't having it.
I am pleading with LeBron James as a father. Stop this. Stop this.
But Stephen didn't stop there. Oh no, he doubled down. He kept breaking down Bronny's stats, highlighting every missed shot, every turnover, every shaky moment like it was open season on the kid. He called it objective journalism. But to LeBron, it looked like a full-on attack on his bloodline, his legacy.
Bronny James is averaging 0.3 points, 0.3 assists, and 0.4 rebounds. You know what people are saying. You know what they're gonna do to this kid. In 13 games, he has played 44 minutes. He has scored 4 points. He is shooting 1 of 16 from the field, 0 for 7 from three-point range.
For LeBron, this wasn't just about basketball anymore. It was about respect. The man built his empire on excellence, discipline, and control. And now someone he once respected was publicly poking holes in that image. That's not just sports commentary. That's personal. Behind the scenes, everyone could feel the tension rising in the Lakers camp. Players whispered in hallways. Conversations froze when LeBron walked in, and his focus during practice hit another level of intensity. The fire in his eyes said it all. He wasn't going to let this slide. What started as a debate on TV was now a cold war between two of the most powerful figures in sports media and basketball. And as the cameras kept rolling, one thing became clear. This wasn't just about Bronny. It was about dominance, pride, and the unspoken rule that you don't mess with the king's family. This feud was about to explode, and everyone watching knew they were witnessing history in real time. Then came March 6, 2025, a night that will forever go down in sports media history. The Lakers were facing off against the New York Knicks at the Crypto.com arena, and nobody knew this routine game was about to turn into a full-blown spectacle. Stephen A. Smith, sitting comfortably courtside in his usual analyst seat, had no clue he was about to step straight into the eye of the storm he'd helped create. Between the third and fourth quarters, when the energy was thick and fans were buzzing, LeBron James made a move that had nothing to do with basketball plays or team tactics. Nah, this was personal. The king had something else on his mind, something that had been boiling for weeks, and he wasn't about to hold it in any longer.
That was LeBron James coming up to me, unexpectedly, I might add, to confront me about making sure that I mind what I say about his son. Can't repeat the words because they ain't suited for FCC airwaves. That's what he was doing.
The confrontation hit fast and hit hard. Cameras caught every second of it. The clip that would soon set social media on fire. LeBron walked straight towards Stephen A. with that unmistakable "don't test me" energy, every step screaming that this wasn't for show. Gone was the polished press conference LeBron everyone knew. This was a father on a mission, ready to defend his son in front of the whole world. Nobody could hear the full exchange over the crowd noise, but insiders were quick to spill what went down. According to Stephen A. himself, LeBron leaned in and told him directly, "Keep my son out of this, bro." That one line, simple, sharp, and full of warning, sent shockwaves through the entire arena. Cameras flashed, fans gasped, and for a split second, time froze. The most outspoken man in sports media was staring into the eyes of one of the most powerful athletes alive, and he looked shook.
That wasn't a basketball player confronting me. That was a parent. That was a father.
It only lasted a few seconds, but that moment hit like an earthquake. Stephen A., the guy known for raising his voice, waving his arms, and dominating debates, didn't say a word. He stayed seated, motionless, eyes locked on LeBron like he couldn't believe what just happened. Witnesses said you could see the tension all over his face. This was not the confident Stephen A. fans were used to. Then came the explosion online. Within minutes, the clip was trending everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Millions of views poured in before the game was even over. The internet was split right down the middle. Some said LeBron was just being a protective dad, while others claimed he overstepped by confronting a journalist in public. But what really got people talking wasn't the fans' reaction. It was Stephen A.'s. In the days that followed, his tone changed completely. The same man who built an entire career on fiery takes and fearless rants suddenly sounded different, quieter, more careful. When he spoke about LeBron after that night, the usual edge in his voice was gone, and the few times he addressed the confrontation, his explanations came off less like defense and more like damage control.
And I can't sit here and be angry or feel slighted by LeBron James in any way in that regard. By all accounts, he's obviously a wonderful family man and a wonderful father who cares very, very deeply about his son.
People close to ESPN said even off camera he seemed uneasy, watching his words, avoiding anything that might reignite the feud. Viewers noticed too. The Stephen A. who once laughed in the face of controversy suddenly looked like he'd seen something that rattled him to the core. This wasn't the usual media showman talking tough behind a mic. This was a man who'd just been checked hard by someone bigger, stronger, and far more influential. His swagger had cracks in it now, and fans could sense it. So as the dust settled from that viral courtside clash, one question kept echoing through the sports world like a haunting echo. Had Stephen A. Smith finally met his match? Had the man who calls out everyone else finally been forced to face his own fear? Because one thing was clear, after March 6th, Stephen A. wasn't quite the same anymore. What came next painted a picture of a man who wasn't just shaken, he was scared. Stephen A. Smith's every move started showing cracks that fans couldn't ignore. His responses weren't the loud, chest-thumping kind we were used to. Nah, these were careful, calculated words coming from someone who suddenly seemed way too aware of LeBron James' power. This wasn't just a professional feud anymore, it was personal, and Stephen A. knew exactly how deep that ran. The biggest giveaway wasn't what Stephen said, it was what he didn't. For a man who's made a whole career out of talking nonstop and never backing down from a fight, his silence around LeBron's name spoke louder than any rant could. In the weeks after their viral showdown, his tone on ESPN changed completely. Anytime LeBron's name came up in production meetings, the vibe shifted. Colleagues noticed he'd suddenly go quiet, crack a quick joke, or change the topic altogether. That confidence? Gone. Then came March 27th, 2025, a rant that should have been his big comeback moment. But instead, it exposed something he didn't mean to reveal. While trying to act unbothered, Stephen A. started talking about his physical limitations and how things would go down if he ever got into a real-life confrontation with LeBron.
I know that the man I am today is not the man that I was a decade ago, physically or beyond.
Just imagine that. The man who always talks tough, suddenly admitting, without meaning to, that the idea of facing LeBron physically was even on his mind. That right there showed how deep the fear had sunk in. This wasn't just about trash talk or social media beef. Stephen A. was genuinely thinking about what would happen if things ever went beyond words. And that kind of energy doesn't come from confidence. It comes from concern. He even started throwing in little comments that hinted at respect, like calling LeBron calculated or saying he orchestrates stuff. Sounds harmless on the surface, but behind those words was the realization that he was up against a man who plans 10 steps ahead. LeBron wasn't just a player anymore. He was a force, and Stephen knew he was outmatched.
He doesn't want a rebuttal. He doesn't want any pushback. He just wants to say what he said like he did on Courtside and then depart, but looks right up to the camera that's behind us that I never saw, who was filming it all along. The man orchestrates stuff.
And the proof? It showed up in his body language, his interviews, and even how often he brought up his security. Suddenly, Stephen A. couldn't stop mentioning that he travels with protection. He told audiences, "Everywhere I go, ESPN knows, local police, FBI, everything. I'm always guarded because I'm an investment." That sounded less like a flex and more like a man trying to convince himself he was safe. The timing made it obvious. This wasn't random. This was right after the LeBron situation blew up. The same man who used to call out anyone, anywhere, was now moving, like he knew the king's shadow was following him. And just when it seemed like things might cool off, LeBron took it to another level. With that Instagram post. Oh, that one hurt. LeBron posted a clip mocking Stephen's old boxing workout video, and it went crazy. Over 1.8 million likes, celebs jumping in the comments, memes everywhere. It was brutal. The internet ate it up, and Stephen couldn't escape it. This was next-level humiliation, the kind of viral moment that no amount of PR spin could erase.
It's very, very embarrassing video. I'll be the first to say and all that stuff, even though I like it to be left up there. Because if people think I want to throw hands like that, that's how I throw hands.
Stephen A. tried to laugh it off at first, but his voice told a different story. He admitted the post was embarrassing, but then said he wasn't bothered. The contradiction was clear as day. He was bothered. He was trying to keep that tough guy image alive, but the cracks were showing fast. For years, Stephen A. had been the loudest voice in sports, the man who never blinked under pressure. But after LeBron checked him both publicly and psychologically, something shifted. His swagger turned to hesitation, his confidence to caution. Maybe he didn't want to admit it, but everyone watching could tell. For the first time ever, Stephen A. Smith looked like he'd finally met a man who truly intimidated him. During his March 26th YouTube rant, Stephen A. Smith finally slipped again, and this time it was impossible to miss. He said, "Had he touched me, I would have immediately taken a swing at him, and then I would have experienced a bad time." That line right there told everyone what they needed to know. The so-called bad time he mentioned, that was Stephen A. flat out admitting that if things ever got physical with LeBron, he knew exactly how it would end, and it wouldn't be pretty. For a man who prides himself on confidence, that sounded a lot like fear. As the days rolled on, it became crystal clear that this feud had shaken him in ways he didn't want to admit. Sources inside ESPN started whispering about the new Stephen A., a version that suddenly played it safe whenever LeBron's name came up. The sharp jabs were gone, replaced with cautious words and compliments sprinkled in like insurance. Gone was the man who used to critique fearlessly. Instead, he was walking on eggshells every time the Kings family came up. It all showed during his March response to Bronny James' breakout 17-point game against the Milwaukee Bucks. Fans expected the usual mix of criticism and smug commentary, but what they got instead shocked everyone. Stephen A. was gushing with praise. He even admitted he might have been wrong about Bronny's earlier performances.
I was impressed, okay? This is the big picture here that I want to bring up. I might have been wrong. Are you listening, LeBron James? Are you listening, James family?
That's not just growth, that's a peace offering. And the way he directly addressed LeBron and the James family made it clear he was trying to smooth things over and cool down the heat. For someone as outspoken and prideful as Stephen A., that kind of soft tone was completely out of character. This wasn't the man who roasted players without blinking. This was a guy trying to patch things up before they got worse. His next few segments were full of half apologies and rewrites of what he'd said before, like he was trying to rewrite history before it caught up with him. Fans could feel the shift. His voice didn't carry the same bite, and his confidence sounded like it was on pause.
I will contend till the cows come home. I was never disrespecting Bronny James. I was the one that didn't watch him in high school because I didn't want to judge him like I would have had to had I gone to his game.
The truth? Stephen A. wasn't just being professional, he was playing defense. He had finally realized just how powerful LeBron really is, not just on the court, but in the world of media, business, and influence. The man commands attention like few others can, and Stephen A. learned firsthand what happens when you end up on the wrong side of that. Even more telling was how selective that new, measured energy was. He didn't change his tone with anyone else. When it came to other controversies or celebrity beefs, Stephen A. was his usual loud self, bold, brash, unfiltered. But whenever LeBron's name came up, you could see the hesitation, hear the caution. He'd tense up, pause mid-sentence, and choose his words like every syllable was being weighed for safety. By the time summer 2025 hit, the feud had gone quiet publicly, but the effects lingered. Stephen A. looked like a man walking carefully in a minefield, trying not to set off another explosion. His behavior said it all. The fearless talk show titan had finally learned that not every battle was worth the smoke. He had been humbled, whether he'd admit it or not. And maybe that's why, for the first time in his long career, Stephen A. started to show a little restraint, a lesson learned the hard way. Because behind the cameras, the jokes, and the commentary, he now knew the truth. When you go head-to-head with LeBron James, you're not just fighting a player, you're challenging an empire. But to really understand just how explosive this feud became, you have to look at the one person sitting right in the middle of all the chaos, the reason this whole storm started in the first place, the young man whose NBA journey turned into a lightning rod for drama and pride, Bronny James. Bronny James being drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers with the 55th overall pick in the 2024 NBA draft was supposed to be a dream come true, a father and son side by side in the same league. It was history in the making, the first father-son duo to ever share the court in the NBA. But that beautiful moment didn't even get a full day to breathe before the criticism came crashing down. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't about legacy. It was about nepotism. People questioned whether Bronny really earned his spot or if he was just riding on his dad's name. Stephen A. Smith wasted no time jumping in. He tore into Bronny's early stats: 2.3 points, 0.7 rebounds, and 0.8 assists per game over 27 appearances. Those are rough numbers for any rookie, but Smith turned them into proof that Bronny didn't belong. What he ignored, though, was the bigger picture. The heart, the recovery, the resilience that made Bronny's story nothing like any other rookie's. See, just a year before that draft, Bronny nearly lost everything. On July 24, 2023, during a USC basketball practice, he went into cardiac arrest. His heart stopped due to a congenital defect. The entire sports world froze. Fans, players, even rivals prayed for the young man to pull through. Doctors said it was a miracle that he survived it all, let alone that he was able to return to basketball less than a year later.
Bronny James, thank God he's in this position. If y'all remember, he had cardiac arrest last year while on the campus of USC. We didn't know what his status was. We didn't know what his health was like. We didn't know whether or not he'd ever be able to play basketball again. And I remember when we first heard it, we didn't know if he was going to survive.
LeBron's emotional retelling of that nightmare on the Pat McAfee show gave the world a glimpse of the pain the family went through.
It was a birth defect that, quite honestly, if he never played sports or he never started to become, strong and run fast and all those stuff, we would never have to worry about it. But as he got stronger and things of that nature, it was just something inside his heart that, was just pounding at his heart and pounding at his lungs that, unfortunately, we had the incident.
Imagine your son collapsing mid-practice, unsure if he'll ever wake up again, and then having to watch strangers question whether he earned his spot in the NBA. So when Stephen A. went after Bronny's stats, it wasn't just commentary to LeBron, it was personal, a punch to the chest of a father who nearly buried his child. For LeBron, protecting Bronny isn't about ego, it's about survival, pride, and gratitude. Every game Bronny plays is a second chance at life. So, of course, the king's going to step in when someone starts picking apart his son's journey like it's just another sports headline. The hate didn't start in the NBA either. Bronny's entire basketball journey has been under a microscope. When he was named a McDonald's All-American in 2023, critics jumped out of nowhere claiming he didn't deserve it, that it was all fame over skill. They compared him to other high school standouts who didn't get picked and accused the selection committee of favoritism. The noise got so bad that LeBron had to step in early on, back in Bronny's freshman year at Sierra Canyon, banning media interviews to protect his son from the chaos. And it wasn't just online drama. Even in the stands, Bronny dealt with things no teenage athlete should ever face. In one game at the Hoop Hall Classic in January 2020, a fan threw an orange peel at him during play, just to taunt him. That one disgusting act summed up what it was like to grow up under the world's microscope. Every step he took, every move he made, people were waiting for him to fail. Then came his time at USC, which was supposed to be his big moment, but even that got interrupted. In October 2022, a preseason game had to be evacuated after a shooting scare broke out. Between the health crisis, the trauma, and the nonstop scrutiny, Bronny's college experience was anything but normal. Yet somehow, he still pushed through, rebuilt his strength, and got drafted into the NBA. That's not privilege, that's perseverance. Even Stephen A., for all his harshness, started to show cracks in his stance once the full story hit him.
Bronny James would not be on an NBA roster if it were not for LeBron James. He would not have gotten drafted in all likelihood yesterday if it were not for LeBron James.
He began acknowledging the extraordinary nature of Bronny's comeback, calling it remarkable and inspirational. But by then, the damage was already done. The perception had been set, and the narrative of nepotism stuck to Bronny like glue.
We live in a country where nepotism has taken place with white folks religiously forever. We've said little to nothing about it. In the NBA specifically, in a league where at least 70% of the players are black, we've seen nepotism with white folks all over the place. Ownership, executive ranks, player personnel, scouting, coaching.
What Stephen A. did get right, though, was how this situation exposed a deeper, uncomfortable truth about sports media and race. He raised a point that few dared to say out loud. If this had been a white executive's son getting the same opportunity, would people be this angry? Would it still be labeled favoritism or just family legacy? That question hit hard because it wasn't just about basketball. It was about bias. Bronny James isn't just another player trying to make it in the NBA. He's a symbol of pressure, privilege, pain, and perseverance all rolled into one. Every dribble he takes carries not just his name, but the weight of expectation, criticism, and hope from an entire generation watching him grow up in real time. So when Stephen A. Smith came for him, it wasn't just sports commentary. It was a strike at a story that's bigger than basketball, bigger than fame, and way deeper than stats on a screen. Because behind the jersey, behind the cameras, is a young man who literally fought for his life, and a father who refuses to let anyone forget it. The money talk around Bronny James hit the headlines just as hard as his game did. Reports came out claiming that Bronny was expected to make over $8 million, while past 55th overall picks barely saw $800,000. That's a jaw-dropping difference, and critics didn't waste a second pointing fingers. They said this wasn't about talent, but about LeBron's pull, that it was the King's power, not Bronny's performance, setting those dollar signs. But even with all that noise, Bronny's actions on the court started silencing a lot of mouths. His time in the G League with the South Bay Lakers has been nothing short of a redemption arc. On March 24, 2025, Bronny exploded for a career-high 39 points against the Valley Suns, his best game yet. That performance turned heads across the league and started flipping the narrative from nepotism to natural talent. Slowly but surely, people were starting to see what LeBron had seen all along. And here's where things got interesting. Stephen A. Smith, the same man who roasted Bronny's every move, had to eat his words. Even he admitted that the kid was improving, calling his progress impressive.
I was impressed, okay? This is the big picture here that I want to bring up. I might have been wrong. Are you listening, LeBron James? Are you listening, James family?
That was a big deal. For someone as stubborn as Stephen A., publicly saying he might have been wrong was practically an apology in disguise. It wasn't just about being professional. It was about saving face and maybe even repairing that fractured relationship with the James family. Bronny's evolution didn't go unnoticed by the people who mattered most either. Lakers head coach J.J. Redick stepped up and praised the young guard's growth, pointing out his boosted confidence, conditioning, and IQ on the court. Redick even went on record saying Bronny had the potential to become an above-average, maybe even really good NBA shooter. Coming from a sharpshooter like JJ, that kind of praise isn't handed out lightly. It was the professional validation Bronny's journey needed, and it changed the tone of the conversation fast. Heading into the 2025 to 2026 season, the plan is clear. Bronny's going to keep grinding in the G League while earning more NBA minutes bit by bit. It's a smart, strategic move. It gives him space to grow, to get stronger, and to truly prove he's ready for the league's highest level without the constant microscope that comes with being LeBron James's son. But even with all that pressure, Bronny's handled it like a seasoned vet. His mental toughness has become just as impressive as his skill set. After surviving a life-threatening heart condition, enduring constant criticism, and carrying a last name that's both a blessing and a curse, Bronny's resilience stands out as his greatest weapon. That quiet determination, that's the stuff champions are made of. His story isn't just about basketball, it's about legacy, family, and grit. Whether he ends up proving every critic wrong or simply carving his own lane, Bronny James' path will go down as one of the most talked about rookie journeys in NBA history. He's not just LeBron's son anymore. He's a young man writing his own chapter, play by play, shot by shot. And as for Stephen A. and LeBron's feud, oh, this is just the start. The tension, the pride, the power, it's far from over. Because when media and royalty collide, the sparks never really die down. If you've been hooked on this wild ride, don't stop here. Make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments below because we've got even more drama, receipts, and deep dives coming your way. See you in the next one.